This is Dr. Ron coming back at you with another video. It's another episode entitled Why We Need Each Other. Yes, episode 73 is going to be about why we need each other. But before we go there, if you could do me a big favor, because I'm showing my need, if you would like, share, and subscribe, that would help me out immensely. Now, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get started. You know, I suppose I've been in a phase of retrospection. I've been thinking about life and about my career, where I am and where I'm headed. And, you begin to think about what's been important to you and what is important to you today. And you can go back to the previous episodes and find more about that. But I suppose the thing that I realize the most is that we need each other. We need the family. We need the community. We need this great country of ours, and we need the global community. Now, why is that? I mean, one can say, hey, I'm going to be independent. I'm going to live very basically. I'm going to have no need for anyone. And perhaps a few people are able to do that. But invariably, we have needs that can only be satisfied by coming together. And it sounds like a political slogan. I'm not trying to say these political slogans in favor or disfavor of any one party or anything like that. But if you look at the overarching message that they convey, like stronger together, it takes a community or a village, trust but verify. These are between countries. These slogans are meant to convey that, one, words of caution or words of how we together meet needs. And that's as simple as I can state it. So I was writing one time, and I wrote the statement that civilization is such a fragile child. If you think about it, everything, all the creature comforts, and that we're going to come back to that in just a moment, are here and we enjoy because of civilization. So you want to understand how civilization comes about and why it's so important. But first, what is it? It's really a social organization, really of a higher order, marked by the development and use of written language, things like the advances in the arts and sciences, and even in the form of government, how we are governed, right? It also talks about the intellectual and cultural refinement that comes out of working together. It's characterized by these creature comforts that I mentioned just a moment ago. What we want to convey is this idea that we can create things together that otherwise could not exist. Now, in order for us to understand why it's important for us to come together to do this act of creation, creating civilization, we have to get something out of it. And that really leads into this basic discussion of needs and why we need each other, okay? So when you think about it, there is a paper that was written, somewhere, I think it was in 43, 46, somewhere around there, 1943, 1946, where Maslow wrote a paper, he was a psychologist, about how to characterize and prioritize different types of needs, right? And so in order to satisfy a need, we have to be motivated. I mean, that's the basic instinct there, isn't it? If you have a need, the need has to be great enough that you're motivated to do something about it. So Maslow used this type of motivation sense to come up with a hierarchy of needs. And if you've gone through any type of basic psychology class in high school or college, you probably have heard about it. If you've taken any training in the trades, you had to understand the needs of the customer, and you probably had some sense of this conveyed to you. But the bottom line is, for motivation to rise up for the next stage of a need, we see a need come up. All previous needs, all higher order needs that were previous, have to be satisfied. So Maslow used this idea to construct some very basic needs around which we can gain some understanding of individual behavior, human behavior, group behavior, so to speak. So what are they? Well, let's talk about the three overarching groups, and then we'll get into the specifics of it. So the first group, of course, is the basic needs. Then there is the psychological needs. And then finally, there's the self-fulfillment needs. All right. So basically, you can understand pretty much what the first order needs are, that first stage. The first need is physiological. And if you're not taking care of the physiological needs like food, water, warmth, shelter, that sort of thing, then you're not going to be able to satisfy any subsequent need. A person that's starving is not worried about shelter. They're worried about finding food. A person that's dying of thirst is worried about finding water to quench that thirst. So the first order is the physiological needs. The second order of needs would be safety needs, security, safety. That would be like the shelter and the barriers of protection. Okay, we can think of those needs both as individual and as group as we grow up into communities and nations. The next level of needs is belongingness and love. These are pretty basic. It's intimate relationships and friendships. As a matter of fact, some anthropologists think that the reason for the big brain, the people have big brains, the humans have big brains, Homo sapien has big brains, is because of that social interaction, the complexity of social interaction, and working out and understanding what each action or comment of one individual means kind of gave rise to the big brain. It's one theory, right? But in any case, there is this order of need that says that we need some type of family structure. We need some type of community structure. We need a group of friendships, right? So we don't worry about that if we haven't satisfied the basic physiological needs. We don't worry about that if we haven't satisfied the safety or security needs. Only after those first two orders of needs or stages of needs have been satisfied do we then begin to look for belongingness and fulfilling of love and friendship. What follows that? Well, it's pretty much kind of love of self. And that's my take on it. You have these needs for esteem, prestige, feeling of accomplishment. You know, if you see, you look back at your career and you look at some of your high school friends, people kind of do this measuring thing. Did I end up doing a little bit better than my childhood friends? Did I do a little bit better than the family members that I grew up with? There's always this sense of accomplishment. You want to know that you're worthwhile, right? So in that sense, we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can, and we have the ability and the opportunity to do that, to advance our self-esteem, our prestige, our feeling of accomplishment. The last need is self-actualization. And this word actualization means you make it real, right? Self-actualization then says that any goals or dreams that you have, you make them real. So self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including the creative activities. Now think about that. We can't be creative if we don't feel good about ourselves and self-esteem. And we can't really feel good about ourselves if we don't have this sense of belonging and we're loved or we're feeling love, right? And we can't really worry about feeling that sense of love if we're worried about our own safety or our family members' safeties, right? And we can't worry about safety if we're starving to death or dying of thirst or we're freezing to death, right? So Maslow was a pretty sharp individual, wasn't he? I pretty much think he hit the nail on the head. What this is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a vehicle of understanding of motivation. And if you want to achieve great things in your life for yourself and your family and for your company, you need to understand what motivates people, what motivates individuals. Now, let me say this. None of this matters without civilization, because the higher order needs are satisfied, even the basic needs are satisfied by civilization. Now, you might say, well, Dr. Ron, why is that? Well, as an example, right now, it's April 2021. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Hopefully, we're seeing the last of it, but who knows how long it's going to last or evolve, right? But even in that, people are looking for homes to buy homes. And what we're finding is that the supply chain has been disrupted. And because the supply chain has been disrupted, the lumber mills, the product manufacturers, they don't have the resources, nor do they have the labor to fulfill all the needs. And what do we see in the price of new homes? As an example, the prices are rising. You combine this idea that people are out there creating products and services because of the environment in which they work. And what is that environment? It is a safe environment. It is a fulfilling environment. They're able to profit at their activities and take home the difference between the cost and the money that comes in. And that profit is used to secure the family, to allow the family to become all that it can be, or the individual, right? And one of the first things that's disrupted during a crisis, whether it be a pandemic or a war or famine, whatever it is, one of the first things that you see is the stresses and strains against the supply chain. The supply chain can only benefit and flourish. I should say the supply chain can only exist and flourish in a very stable and safe environment. And by that definition, that's civilization. Without civilization, we all suffer. Without civilization, our longevity is lessened. Without civilization, we cannot combat diseases or medical emergencies. I've made the statement to my students in many cases when we were talking about the advancement of technology in my classes. And I point blank tell them, I'm here today because of technology. If it weren't for medical technology, I probably would have died in 2007. But because of the medical technology and emergency surgery, and because there were doctors and surgeons around, I was able to be taken care of. And you think about this, and you think about the 1800s and the 1700s and the 1200s and the first century and the before the Common Era. As we go further and further back, we see the decline of longevity, life expectancy. We see the decline in the rampant spread of diseases unchecked. Whether it's technology for creature comfort like clean water, cool air conditioning, yes, electricity, or whether it's for medical technology or the ease of going from one place to the other, planes, trains, and automobiles, right? All of that, all of those creative innovations that add to the creature comfort and make daily living not only easier, but a joy, are a result of civilization. And civilization occurs when we all agree to come together to do something that benefits us all. You couldn't have the farms that produce the foods that we eat without civilization, specialization within civilization. We're not all farmers or ranchers. We're not all engineers or software programmers. We're not all mechanics or air conditioning workers, mechanics. We're not, we all have specialized, and civilization has allowed us to specialize, to do the things that we do best that advances civilization so that we all benefit. And we come to the countries that we live in. The countries rise up and they create a code of law that allows us to work with one another within that framework of law that says this is good. We can advance ourselves and our family and each other by working together. It's not just a desire that we work together and that we come together as a community. It is a necessity for all that we hold near and dear. You know, what follows the fall of civilizations is chaos, and people die in masses. It's a sad and tragic thing. You can go back and look at all the civilizations that have preceded us, starting back with the Roman and backwards. And you will see that as they rose up and fell, whether they fell to famine or war or other types of conflicts that destroyed the infrastructure of civilization, those civilizations, those cities died and faded away. So we have a question today, and this is as political as I get. Are we going to recognize that we need each other, that we need a rule of law, that we come together and understand that everything that each of us does impacts the others in that group, whether it's the family, the community, or the country, or even the global community? So I think that what's important about this particular episode is this particular statement. We need each other, and together we can achieve great things. But we cannot do that unless we respect one another and respect our differences and understand that not everybody is raised up the same way. Not everybody has the same background. But respecting of individuals is where it all erupts. That's the start of civilization. And with that, my friends, I hope you found this interesting. You take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next episode. All the best.